So, good day everyone. Today, our group will be taking about managing stress and the work-life balance. So, the nature of stress. So, many people think of stress as a simple problem. In reality, however, stress is complex and often misunderstood. So, many people consider stress to be a minor issue. Stress, on the other hand, is a complicated issue that is frequently misinterpreted. So, what exactly is stress? So, stress is a person's adaptive response to stimulus that places excessive psychological or physical demands on that person. Or, stress is the sensation of being overwhelmed or unable to cope with mental or emotional pressure as any change that creates physical, emotional, or physiological strain. Your body's reactions to anything that requires attention or action is stress. As a result, stress is a major problem that requires immediate attention. The stress process. Much of what we know about stress today betrays to the pioneering work of Dr. Hans Selye. So among Selye's most important contributions were his identification of the general adaptation syndrome and the concept of eustress and distress. So general adaptation syndrome or GAS or GAS, according to this model, each of us has a normal level of resistance to stressful events. Some of us can tolerate a great deal of stress and others much less, but we all have a threshold at which stress starts to affect us. So the general adaptation syndrome or GAS identifies three stages of response to a stressor. First is alarm, second is resistance, and exhaustion. So here in this picture, so the straight line is the normal level of resistance, and this other line or the curved line is the response of stressful events. So there are three stages. So stage 1 is the alarm, stage 2 is the resistance, and the stage 3 is the exhaustion. So in the stage of alarm response or the stage 1 is the alarm reaction stage that describes the first signs and symptoms that the body exhibits when it is stressed. The fight or flight response, which is physiological response to stress, may be known to you in harmful situations. So this neutral reaction prepares you to run or defend oneself. Your heart rate rises, your adrenal gland release cortisol or a stress hormone, and you gain an energy boost that adrenaline during the alarm reaction stage. The fight or fight response is triggered. So a stage of resistance, so the body begins to mend itself after the initial shock of the stressful incident and the fight or fight response. So it produces less cortisol, which causes your heart rate and blood pressure to return to normal. So even while your body is recovering, it is still on high alert for a while. If you overcome stress and the situation is no longer a problem, your body will continue to heal until your hormone levels, heart rate, and blood pressure return to the pre-stress level. So some stressful situations might last for months or 7 years. If you don't deal with the stress and keep your body on high alert, it will gradually adapt and learn to live with a higher degree of stress. In order to cope with stress, the body undergoes changes that you are unaware of at this stage. So the stress hormone is still being produced in your body and your blood pressure is still high. You may believe that you're handling stress effectively, but your body or physical response says otherwise. So the exhaustion stage can occur if the resistance stage is maintained for an extended period of time without pauses and counteract the effects of stress. So signs of resistance stage include irritability, frustration, or poor concentration. So the stage of exhaustion, this stage is caused by a long-term or the chronic stress, or long-term stress can be deplete your physical, emotional, and mental resources to the point where your body no longer has the strength to combat it. So you may be ready to quit or believe that your situation is hopeless. So the following signs of exhaustion is the fatigue, burnout, the depression, anxiety, decreased stress tolerance, or The physical effects of this stage also weaken your immune system and put you risk for stress-related illness. At this point, the person may feel some degree of panic and begin to wonder how to cope. Next, distress and eustress. So Selye also pointed out that the sources of stress need not be bad. Eustress is the pleasurable stress that accompanies positive events. So you're not alone if you never heard of positive stress. The majority of us associate all stress with bad events. So Dr. Michael Genovese, a clinical psychiatrist, says people rarely think of stress as a good thing, yet eustress is exactly that, good stress. So he added that exciting of stressful experience induce a biological response in the body. So nerve can cause eustress, which can be triggered when confronted with pleasurable tasks. This is vital according to Genovese because our well-being can suffer if we don't have enough eustress. So eustress keep us motivated, help us achieve our goals, and make us feel good about ourselves, he continued. Next, distress is an unpleasant stress that accompanies negative events. So distress is a suffering, misery, or anguish, all refer to a condition extreme distress. So external and typically transient causes of considerable bodily or mental strain and stress are referred to as an anguish. The hurricane wreaked havoc on everyone. So suffering denotes a forceful effort to endure pain or sorrow. So next, individual differences and stress. So the most fully developed individual difference relating to specifically to stress is the distinction between type A and type B personality profiles. So the type A and type B profiles were first observed by two cardiologists, Meyer Friedman and Ray Rosenman. So next, type A and type B personalities. Type A people are extremely competitive, highly committed to work, and have strong sense of time urgency. Type B people are less competitive, less committed to work, and have weaker sense of time urgency. So this type personalities concern how people respond to stress. However, although its name implies personality typology, it's more appropriately conceptualized as a trait continuum with extremes type A and type B individual on each end. So type A personality is characterized by a constant feeling of working against the clock and strong sense of competitiveness. So individuals with type A personality generally experience a higher stress level, hate failure, and find it difficult to stop working even when they have achieved their goals. So the type A is competitive, time urgent, hostile, and aggressive. And the type B is relaxed, patient, and easygoing. So the competitiveness of a type A behavior pattern. So a type A individuals tend to be very competitive and self-critical. They strive toward goals without feelings, a sense of joy in their efforts and accomplishments. So interrelated with this presence of significant life imbalance, this characterized by high working involvement. So type A individuals are highly wound up and tend to overact. They also tend to have high blood pressure or hypertension. So in time urgency, so a type of personalities experience a constant sense of urgency. So type people seem to be in constant struggle against the clock. So often time quickly become impatient with delays and unproductive time schedule commitments too tightly and try to do more than one thing at a time, such as regarding while eating or watching television. So hostility. Type A individuals tend to be easily aroused to anger, hostility, so which they may express overtly. So such individuals tend to see a worse in others, so displaying anger, envy, and a lack of compassion. So the type B personalities is the type B personality is characterized by relaxed, patient, and easygoing nature. So individuals with type E personality work steadily, enjoying achievements, but do not tend to become stressed when goals are not achieved. So people with type B personality tend to be more tolerant of others, are more relaxed than type A individuals, more reflective, experience lower levels of anxiety, and display a higher level of imagination and creativity. So that is the differences of the type A and the type B personalities. So that's all. Thank you.
Individual differences and stress. So there are two other important individual differences related to stress, which are the hardiness and optimism. So hardiness is a person's ability to cope with stress. People with hardy personalities have an internal locus of control, are strongly committed to the activities in their lives, and view change as an opportunity for advancement and growth. So people who have this kind of hardy personalities, it is advancement for them because they have the control, they know how to handle the stress that they may encounter. So people who are strongly committed to do their activities in their daily lives, they're also strongly committed to face their problems, and then they won't stop until they find resolution on it. So people who have these hardy personalities, wala nila ginatake this kind of personalities as a threat, but they take it as a challenge. So hardy personalities, you, it involves how to control, your commitment, and challenge. So for example, as a manager, gitagaan ko very difficult task. And then it is very advancement for me kay I have this kind of hardy personalities. I know how to control in terms of mga pressure, my behaviors, and all. And I am committed to do this task to achieve this kind of task nga gihatag sa kuha. And I take it as a challenge sa for me, for me nga mo for me nga mo grow pa ko as an individual. Next is optimism. Is the extent to which a person sees life in positive or negative term. So when we say optimism, optimistic. So an individual who have this kind of positive thinking, they know how to handle their stress, and they can easily cope this kind of stress nga ilang ma-encounter in doing some things. So having this kind of positive thinking is healthy sa atong mental, and we can expect uh, good things to happen. Whereas negative terms, it can maka ang outcome niya is unfavorable yun. So for example, gikan ko sa work, and then gitawag na ko akong adlaw as a stressful day. It is because daghan kay kog task or daghan kay kog activities na gihuman or gihimo. And then I do believe nga it could only get better. And then it is okay kay at least nahuman ako siya within the day, and then I have this positive thinking. Another example is this time of pandemic. So daghan workers nga nag-work from home. So ang disadvantage is wala sila sa wala gyud on-site nga sila nag-work. And then dili sila ka personally halubilo sa iyang mga coworkers. But then it is advantage for me nga mag-work from home because I can spend more time with my family. So, other research suggests that women are perhaps more prone to experience the psychological effects of stress, whereas men may report more physical effects. Why? It is because women are more prone because of their hormonal response. So, if they keep or if they if more nga thoughts and emotions ang ilaang gina-encounter, so more stress ang ilaang ma-feel or ma-experience. Whereas sa men, hanang if they experience stress, they do physical activities. So they are good in terms of managing the stress through various exercise or activities. So finally, some studies suggest that people who see themselves as complex individuals are better able to handle stress than people who view themselves as relatively simple.
So this is the continuation of our report. Common causes of stress. Many things can cause stress: organizational stressors and life stressors. So organizational stressors are various factors in the workplace that can cause stress. First one is task demands. Are stressors associated with a specific job a person performs. Some occupations are by nature more stressful than others. Lack of job security is another task demands that can cause stress. Overload occurs when a person simply has more work than he or she can handle. So, task demand are factors related to an employee's job. They include the design of person's job, working condition, and the physical work layout. Work quotas, like for example, work quotas can put pressure on employees when their outcomes are perceived as excuses. The most the more interdependence between an employee's task and the task of others, the more powerful the stress there is. So, top most stressful job. First is surgeon, commercial airline pilot, photojournalist, advertising account executive, real estate agent, physician, general practice, reporter, newspaper, physical, physician, assistant. Then the top list stressful jobs is our actuary, dietitian, computer system analyst, statistician, astronomer, mathematician, historian, and software engineer. The second one of organizational stressor is physical demands. Are stressors associated with a job's physical settings such as the adequacy of temperature and lighting and the physical requirements the job makes on the employee. Working outdoors in extreme temperature and extraneous labor can result in stress. Too much interaction may distract a person from his or her task, whereas too little may lead to boredom or loneliness. Poor lighting, inadequate work surfaces, and similar deficiency can create stress. Shift work can cause disruptions for people because of the way if it affects their sleep and leisure time activities. So, physical demands. Many types of work are physically demanding, including strenuous activities, extreme working conditions, travels, exposure to hazardous materials, and working in a tight load office. The third organizational stressors is role demands. Are stressors associated with the role a person is expected to play. So a role is a set of expected behaviors associated with a particular position in a group or organization. So role demand is people in an organization or work group expected a person in a particular role to act in a certain way. They transmit this expectation both formally and informally. So role ambiguity arises when a role is unclear. So role and ambiguity, if your instruct like for example, if your instructor tells you to write a term paper but refuses to provide more information, you will probably experience ambiguity. Second one is role conflict occurs when a message and clues from others about the role are clear but contradictory or mutually exclusive. So role conflict, like for example, if a person boss says that to get ahead one must work overtime, but some person says that more time is needed at home with family. With that conflict may result. The third, role overload, occurs when expectations for the role exceed the individual's capabilities. So role overload. When a manager, like for example, when a manager gives an employee several major assignments at one while increasing the person's regular workload. So the employee will probably experience role overload. So the next slide will be discussed by my other team group members. Thank you.
Honey Jane Ocolinares, as a continuation of Mr. Lumana report, forms of rule conflict. First, interior conflict, conflict between rules. It involves with multiple rules, expectations, and behavior. When the expectation of one or more is incompatible, the conflict will exist. For example, a father and husband is also achievable this. In that example, the person has, I have three rules of life, which is being a father, being a husband, and also being a chief of police. Next is intra-rule conflict. May occurs when a person gets conflicting demands from different sources within the context of the same rules. When the demands are within the single domain of life, such as a job, for example, is the manager asks the employees to do the job, and the two managers ask an employees to do the task, but both of the employees cannot accomplish the task that given to them at the same time. 3. Intrasender conflict occurs when a single source sends clearly but contradictory message. Different expectation from different person. It may occur from different message and pressure from one rule sender opposed message and pressure to one or more other sender. 4. Person rules conflict result from discrepancy between the rules requirements and the individual's personal values, attitudes, and needs. When when the rule requirement is incompatible with the physical person, attitudes, values, and or the views of compatible behavior. For example, is a certain or a clash between the personal values and the job requirements. As conflicting personalities and behavior may cause stress. Also, the group pressure, leadership, and also the personality styles, and also the sexual harassment and emotional issues on our life also can give us stress in our life, and not only our life, also our body. So, life stressors. Stress in organizational settings can be influenced by events that take place outside the organization. Life stressors can be categorized in terms of life change and life trauma. Yes, it can give our life change of the stressor, because of the stress we can do the things that we cannot even, or we cannot realize that we can do, and it's give a lot of trauma in our life. For example, is the death of our parents, our loved ones. In that, we cannot really easily move on, because it is our loved ones, and it can change our life, because we can feel emotional pressure and stress, and that, and it can give us trauma in our life. And also we have also the emotional problem that we have own by own, and also increase financial obligation, that we will think that we need to do we need to give, or we need to do this obligation in our life, in the financial, and if our job is not stable and our financial obligation is higher to higher, we will think away what we will do to give that financial obligation, and it give us stress to think where we will get that money, or where we'll get the things that we should give, or put to our financial obligation. Life change. Holmes and Rahi first developed and popularized the notion of the life change as a source of stress. A life change is any meaningful change in a person's personal or work situations. Holmes and Rahe reason that major change in a person's life can be lead to stress and eventually disease. Yes, it can, because of stress. It also affect not only our mind, also our body, that cause us disease. And if we have disease, we also pressure, we also to be stressed again, because we will think what we will do to solve this problem, to get to um, to cure this disease that we have, and we will, and that we can feel pressure, we can feel stress on ourselves, and it is give our life change because of the things that we we do on our actions. And also, for me, to avoid the stressors or the stress in our life, we should think positive. So, as a continuation of Hanagen report, the point himself represents life change or LCU. So, Holness and Ray suggest that people who are encounter more than 150 LCUS in a given year will be experience a decline in their health the following year. So, a score of between 150 and 300 LCUs supposedly carries a 50% chance of major illness. So, supposedly 50% is coming from 300, which is the half of 150. So, while the change of the major illness is said in the increase to 70% for the number of LCUS excess 300. So, next topic is all about traumatic. Life traumatic. So, life traumatic is an emotional response to a traumatic event like an accident, rape, or a natural disaster. It has a longer term reaction include unpredictable emotion, flashback, and also state of relationship, and even physical symptoms like headache. So these are the symptoms of emotional reaction of trauma, like for example fear, panic, and shock. This feeling detached and confused, feeling numb, or not wanting to connect with others or becoming withdrawn from those around you because they have a traumatic and they feel that they cannot trust other people because of the trauma that they have and they feel from other person. So next one, to prevent this life trauma is you need to lean on your loved ones. Identify your friends or family member for support. Second, face your feelings. So face your feelings or fear those traumatic event that happened to you. Face them. Don't be hard to yourself. Face for your feelings or those things that happen to you in negative way, so that you can be accomplished and open up to those person what have you feel, so that you can release your traumatic event or traumatic feelings. Prioritize your self-care. So prioritize self-care. So you always care yourself as long that you are needed to care yourself, and also to know that you're safe and to know that you are comfortable to yourself. Next one is consequence of failure. There are a lot of negative effect of stress, like for example maybe cause of that, but there are also ways to prevent stress. So stress is a feeling emotion or physical tension. It can came from any event due to make you feel frustrated, angry, or nervous. Stress is your body reaction to challenge or demand. In short, bruise stress can be positive, such as when it help you avoid danger and meet a deadline. So there are a lot of way of the stress. So there are negative effect of stress. There are also a positive way of stress, depend on stress that you have on your body. So how to prevent stress? To prevent stress is exercise. You need to exercise your body to prevent the stress that you have in your body. Also, consider supplements. So you need to take a vitamins every day or a medicine to make your stress get away in your body. Also, write it down. So write down the negative effect in your mind, in your body, so that the stress that in your body will be released. Next, spend time with your family and friends. So this is the way of stress relieving, because if you having time with your friends and family, you can tell them what happening to you, and also they can make you happy, so that you can be away from stress or you can be relieved from stress. That's all. Thank you.
So individual consequences. The individual consequences of stress then are outcomes that mainly affect the individual. The organization also may suffer, either directly or indirect, but it is the individual who pays the real price. Stress may produce behavioral, psychological, and medical consequences. So each of us is magka-stress gyud nang samot na nang nakay dagkong problema sa life. So ang individual consequences is nasa tulo ka consequences. So ang una is behavioral, psychological, and ang medical consequences. So ang una ta sa behavioral consequences. The behavioral consequences of stress may harm the person under stress or others. So kung usa ka tawo is stress, so undergo gyud na siya og kuan, smoking, manigarilyo gyud na siya kay feeling niya kay dito sa sigarilyo man siya mo kanang murag bag mahimong tambal nila kay kaning for example og stress ka, diapos manigarilyo ka, di mo to nga mandirgo na lang sila sigarilyo kay feeling nila mawala ilang stress. Ang uban word ang kay mo undergo kuan inom-inom or drug abuse. Ang uban is accident proneness. Kaning accident proneness is for example ga-drive kag sakyanan tapos stress ka, ang mura kag mawala sa imong pamuot or sa imong pag seryoso sa imong pagka-drive mo nang madisgrasya ka, aggression and violence, mao ka sa pamuot mo nang manumbag lang ka, manghilabot lang ka sa ubang tawo. Appetite disorder di kining kuan, di ka ganahan mukaon or dili ka mukaon. Nasikan ay psychological consequences. The psychological consequences of stress relate to a person mental health and well-being. When people experience too much stress at work, they may become depressed or find themselves sleeping too much or not enough. So dire, kung usa ka tawo ganing too much stress na kayo kay tungod sa iyang trabaho, daghan kay mga file na ilang mga trabahoon kay mo nang og stress kayo ka yun nagdaghan na kay kag gihinuna mo nang can lead into depression. So kung mag-depress ka, di na kaning kuan kulang kag tulog na mabilar na ka kay di magkaka tulog og sayo na kay daghan mo kay ganing nasulod si mong nauna. Kaya ang stress pod is may also lead to a family problem and sexual difficulties. Sa family problem, kung stress ka, dako gyapon apekto sa imong pamilya. For example, stress diyon maabot og depress. Ning maapektuhan gyapon sila kay ang sulod sa hunahuna sa imong pamilya na kay kanang for example kaning depress yung anak. Diyon dili siya magawas-gawas ang kwarto, sige siya katulog or kulang kayo kaon, dili kay mo halubilo sa ubang tawo siyang barkada, tapos makabalo imong pamilya nga depress ka, ang sulod sa imong na basig maghikog kay ang depress mo ni ang the real problem mao nang maghikog ang usa ka tawo. The third is medical consequences. The medical consequences of stress affect a person's physical well-being. Heart disease and stroke, among other illnesses, have been linked to stress. Other common medical problems resulting from too much stress include headaches, backaches, ulcer, unrelated stomach and intestinal disorder, and skin conditions such as acne and hives. So sa medical consequences, kung stress ka, dako gyapon apekto sa imong lawas, dako gyapon kapektuhan. So, for example, sama tong giingon ako sa behavioral consequences nga mandigo na siya inom o sigarilyo. Kaning sa example sa inom, kung hubog kay ka, di ka ganahan mukaon, di magka-ulcer ka na, dako gyapon kay apekto. Tapos kuan ka kaning example, kaning stress ka jud manigarilyo ka, di dako gyapon kay daot sa imong lawas, daghan ining headaches kay tungod magsakit imong ulo kay daghan mo kagunhunaon god kay stress ka or na-depress na kay ka. Kining and skin condition include siguro anang kung stress ka, sige kag kabilar yun, so pagkabuntag na di ka pwede maligo. Skin condition, so mag-uga gyud imong panit na or sa imong physical health, heart disease. Pwede gyapon na kung makakuan kag heart disease kay ang utok ug ang kasing-kasing is connected ra man na siya. Dili man mo function og isa ra. Mo nang heart na siya kuan dako gyapon apekto sa medical. So ang mas mayo ni is dapat dili ma-stress ang usa ka tawo kay life is short. Be happy and enjoy at all times. Thank you.
So, good day everyone. My topic is all about organizational consequences. So, organizational consequences means a lasting impact of hormonal action generally happening in fetal growth of the formative postnatal time, which leads to lasting alterations in action and neural operating. So, the organizational consequences of stress are also severe. For example, work-related stress have been linked to such negative outcomes as decreased organizational commitments, decreased job performance, increased workers' compensation claims, and increased sick time. So other results of stress have even more direct consequences for organizations. This includes decline in performance, withdrawal, and negative changes in attitudes. So when we say decline in performance means kanang mo-avoid ka or mo-refuse ka sa mga trabahoon sa imong work. Usa sad ni siya sa consequences kung nganong ma-stress ang usa ka employee. So next is withdrawal. So when we say withdrawal is the combination of physical and mental effects that a person experiences after they stop using or reduce their intake of a substance such as alcohol and prescription or recreational drugs. And usa sab ni siya sa result why ang usa ka employee may stress siya sa work kay daghan kaayo siya gihunahuna. So next is the negative changes in attitude. Negative changes in attitude kanang people with a negative attitude ignore the good and pay attention to the bad in people. Situations or events dumikan sa ka-stress sa work na ay uban employees maglahi-lahi ang ilaang attitudes. So mausad ni siya ang usa ka reason. So next is burnout. Burnout, another consequence of stress, has clear implication for both people and organizations. Burnout is a general feeling of exhaustion that develops when a person simultaneously experiences too much pressure and has too few sources of satisfaction. So, burnout ma-burnout ang isa ka employee if daghan na kaayo siya gihunahuna na trabahoon. Stress na siya sa work o kanang sagol na tanan iyang pagka-stress. It occurs also when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands, and this can affect your job. So next is the managing stress in the workplace. The individual coping strategies. So naay uban na workers or employees naa sila strategies kung unsaon pag-manage ang ilang stress. Usa na ang exercise. So exercise, people who exercise regularly are less likely to have heart attacks than inactive people. More directly, research has suggested that people who exercise regularly feels less tension and stressed, are more self-confident, and show greater optimism. So people who do not exercise regularly feel more stressed, are more likely to be depressed, and experience other negative consequences. So if exercise ka, when you say exercise can reduce stress and increase your energy at work. Maganado kay kamo trabaho and can improve your overall mood. It also makes you feel great after. So exercising also gives your brain a break from something that was maybe blocking you and allows you to come back to your work with fresh ideas and pumped neurons. That's all. Thank you.
So, good day everyone. I am Angelo G. Hermogenes. So, this is the continuation of the report of Miss Maisli. Number 2, relaxation. A related method of managing stress is relaxation. Relaxation is the best technique that can reduce stress. This can help you enjoy a better quality of life, especially if naakay mga sakit. So, proper relaxation is an effective way to adapt. It's not only about peace of mind and enjoying your hobby, but also it is a process of decreasing the effects of stress on your mind and your body. So, relaxation can take many forms. One way to relax is to take regular vacations. People take regular rest breaks during their normal work days, and a popular way of resting is to sit quietly with closed eyes for 10 minutes every afternoon. So, in general, relaxation techniques involve refocusing your attention on something, calming and increasing awareness of your body. It doesn't matter which relaxation technique you choose. What matters most is that you try to practice relaxation regularly to reap its benefits. So, number 3, time management. The idea is that many daily pressures can be eased or eliminated if a person does a better job of managing time. Time management is a way to find the time for all the things you want and need to do. It helps you decide which things are urgent and which can wait. So, learning how to manage your time, activities, and commitments can be hard, but doing so can make life easier, less stressful, and more meaningful. So, one popular approach to time management is to make a list every morning of the things to be done that day. You decide which tasks and activities are most important to you. Knowing what's important helps you decide how best to spend your time. So, there are 3 categories of time management. First, critical activities that must be performed. Critical activities is murag maudyo na imong buhaton anang adlaw. Then, second, important activities that should be performed. Mao na ang buhaton nimo ana. Ang critical activities is mao na imong unahon, then ang important activities for me is mao na imong buhaton, pero mas unahon gyud to nimo critical activities. So, optional or trivial things that can be delegated or postponed. From the word postponed, pwede ra siya nimo ugma ba buhaton or sunod adlaw ana lang. Next, role management. The individual actively works to avoid overload, ambiguity, and conflict. One role management strategy is to learn to say no. For example, na-stress na ka sa imong trabaho, dayon mga activities nga gihatag sa imo then mapun-an pa jud, tagaan na pud ka sa imo ang manager o bag-o na pod, so ang imong trabahoon madaghan. Dapat mo balibad jud ka kung dili nimo kaya, kay the more nga nagkadaghan imong trabaho, the more nga ma-stress ka. Distinguish between shoulds and the must, and when possible, say no to taking on too much. Last, support groups. A final method for managing stress is to develop and maintain support groups. A support group is a simply group of family members or friends with whom a person can spend time. Connect with others. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong and more calming than spending quality time with another friend whom you trusted the most. It is a good tips para sa imo nga na-stress ka para napug kay gawsan sa imong mga problema or kanang at least man lang sa kabugat sa imo ang gibati ma-share nimo sa uban, then matagaan kanila og mga tips or any advices nga pwede nimo i-apply sa imong kaugalingon. That's all. Thank you.
So the previous slides talk about the individual coping strategies. So my part is all about the organizational coping strategies. Organizations are also increasingly realize that they should be involved in managing their employee stress. So there are two different rationales for this view. So just because the organization is at least partly responsible for creating the stress, they should help to relieve it. So the managers usually have more control over the working environment than the employees. So normally, the managers have more opportunity to contribute to a reduction of work-related stress. So the workers experiencing lower levels of harmful stress will function more effectively. So the two basic organizational strategies for helping employees manage stress are the institutional programs and the collateral programs. So institutional programs. Institutional programs for managing stress are undertaken through establishment for organizational mechanism. So the first one is the design of work and work schedule should be focus of organizational efforts to reduce stress. A properly designed jobs and work schedules can help easily stress. So for example, shift work, and particularly to those work at night till morning, it can be problematic for employees since it requires them to adjust their sleep and relaxation patterns on a daily basis. So the second one is the organization. The organization should strive to foster a culture that reinforces the healthy mix of work and non-working activities. So an organization should foster or promote an culture. So for example, recreational activities that make their leisure time more pleasurable and entertaining for the employees. So the third one is the supervision can play an important institutional role in managing stress. So if a supervisor aware of assigning stressful amount of works to the to employees potential, then the supervisor should give enough workloads to the employees. So the next one is the collateral programs. In addition to institutional efforts aimed at reducing stress, many organizations are, are turning to collateral programs. So a collateral stress program is an organizational program specifically created to help to help deal with the stress. So organizations adopted stress management programs, health promotion programs, and other kinds of programs. So in collateral programs, so for example, in collateral programs, uh, uh, so for programs they like anti-stress meeting for employees to relieve and to know more about how they can relieve stress within the company. So that would be